Don't hang up on me. Don't hang up on me. Okay, seriously, nobody actually hangs up anymore because nobody uses phones for talking. Am I right? But we use phones for a lot of other things, and it is becoming a problem. I'm here with Haley Evans of The Big Hang Up and author of Hang Up, Hung Up, Hang Up. See, I have digital dementia. I can't even remember my verb tenses. I'm here with Haley Evans, and she's going to tell us a little bit about what she does and why it is so important.
Hi, thank you for having me, Katie. I'm so excited to be here.
This is such an important topic, Haley. How did you start getting into this idea of smartphone addiction and all of the kind of cascading effects from it? And what's like just overall your big mission?
So I have 3 kids to start, so 3 preteens, and their heads are always buried in a phone. And when you watch that long enough, you start to think, like, that's probably not good for them, right? Mm-hmm. But then the biggest thing for me was kind of trying to manage my life. I have a full-time job. I actually started a new job, I guess about 1.5 years ago. The kids were going back to school, and I felt like pretty good at time management. I just felt like my head had been slung into a gravitron. You know, I feel like I was constantly being pulled down rabbit holes. And when I really stopped to think about it, it was the phone. I mean, it got to the point where in the afternoons, like, you know, I've got supper on the stove, my husband's calling me, like, kids have soccer, who's taking them? Mom, sign this form, I need help, you know, and I'm going everywhere, and all the while that my phone would be ping, 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 and every one of those pings was some action required or time-sensitive message that sent me down a different rabbit hole. And so I finally realized that first of all, I had to do something about it. I had to better manage my phone. But when I started doing the research on screen time, excessive screen time, social media, like, I got scared. Scared. And so my mission is I am not anti-smartphone. I love my phone. That's how I start the book. I'm like, I love my phone. And I'm not anti-social media, obviously. But what I am about is being the boss of your phone, being the boss of your life, being the boss of yourself, being the boss of your happiness and the way you spend your time. And to do that, you have to be able to better manage the phone.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about basically the opposite of letting the phone be the boss of you, which is the problem many of us run into. And as a stress mastery educator, I know like the physiological issues that happen in our brains when we're constantly being pulled off task and we're constantly being made to feel like there is a fire to jump on. Like it's causing massive chronic stress in adults. And I think what's funny is it's almost the opposite. I think and you tell me if I'm wrong, let's talk about this. It's almost the opposite problem in kids in that they're not maybe feeling any stress. They're just consuming. I visited a good friend this weekend. Her husband is a teacher at a private high school. And he said, we were talking about like the state of kids and the state of adults and how kids are being raised right now. And he said, you know, lunchtime is the saddest thing he's ever seen. Every kid has their own tablet. And at lunch, they're all on, not only on their tablet, he said, some of them you think they're sleeping because they're putting their head down to look at like a movie on their lap throughout lunch, literally blocking out the world. And I'm just like, all my hair kind of stood on end because I didn't realize that it was that bad even at lunch. So what is the deal with this smartphone and screen addiction?
So first of all, what you said, these kids making their way through their adolescence with their eyes down, their necks bent, is so heartbreaking. It's so they don't even know how to communicate, and I'll get to that later. But I mean,
right, because nobody's talking. Remember,
they don't even know that the phone can make a phone call. Literally, my son, I said, Eli, I am schlepping groceries in. Put the phone down and help mom with these groceries. He goes, I can't. I go, why? He goes, because I texted Henry when you told me to, and I'm waiting to see if he's coming over. I go, wait, are you kidding me? Like 20 minutes ago? He's like, yeah. I go, call him. In one phone call, they could have said, Henry, you want to come over? I'd love to. Is it okay with my mom? What time? How about 3? Great. What do you know? But instead, it was 10 texts over the course of probably like an 1.5 hour time span. It could have been handled in the 30-second phone call because they don't realize that the phone can actually make calls.
That's fascinating and terrifying.
Unless they're on house party. which is like the new tween thing. It's like the, when probably you and I had like the 3 or 4-way calling when that came about.
Okay.
I don't know when that was. Or I had 2 different phones plugged into my room. Now they house party. It's like FaceTime around the horn.
Huh.
Yeah.
At least it's talking, but yeah, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah. But I want to, before we jump in, I want to make sure that your viewers understand like just how prevalent this is.
Yes.
So I don't know if you guys have talked about the term nomophobia, but so it's this new term, nomophobia. It means no more mobile phone. And it's a legit term, like absolutely legit. Google it. Like the researchers in this field are using it. But here's what's scary. 40% of Americans have nomophobia.
Oh.
If you single out just the teens and adolescents, the number goes up to 50%. So 50% of people who are petrified of being without their phone. When you break it down even more, 73% of us, all of us, say we feel anxious when our phone is misplaced, we can't find it. 14% feel sick, and 7% literally get physical symptoms of being sick when they're without their phone. And my favorite statistic of all, the one that makes me want to scream, is, hold on, I got to make sure I say 75% of people, almost all of them, say they never have their phone more than 5 feet from their body.
Oh.
100% of the time, 75% of people say their phone is never 5 feet from their body.
Uh-oh.
So this is where I say the post is the problem, because I was born with 2 hands. I realize not everybody is, but most people are born with 2 hands. We need both of them. Like famous words by Haley. I'm like, can I call you back? I need both hands. Can I call you back? I need both hands. We weren't designed, and we haven't evolved to house a smartphone, although we have it on our wrist. But how crazy is that? That people say 100% of the time their phone is never more than 5 feet from their body. We treat it like an appendage.
Yeah, we're total science geeks here at Kitchen Stewardship. We love the stats, we love the research. And I know a bunch of people in my audience are not only thinking about the whole like screens and addiction and stress and all this stuff, but we're going, EMFs, cancer, oh no, like that's we don't need that. We need a digital detox. I do find if I walk past my phone on the counter, I totally like twitch a little, and I feel like I should just check to see if there's a notification. And that's so like gets me going. I'm not happy with it.
They say that the majority of people cannot go more than 10 minutes without depressing the home button just to see if there's a notification, regardless if it pinged or not.
I totally believe it. On Mother's Day for myself, I decided to turn my phone off. That was my gift to me on Mother's Day. And like the more I went through the day, and it was funny, a couple of times I thought, oh, like I was like sorting out stuff in my basement, and I found some stuff that belonged to my mom. And I was like, oh, I need to ask her like if she needs this back and how soon and whatever. And I'm like, but my phone is off. So I'll either have to remember it or deal with it. But the further I got into having it away from me and knowing it was off, the more relaxed I felt. Like I could actually physically and mentally feel, and I didn't really want to turn it back on. But it takes a little bit of a detox time, probably longer detox for the people who are more checking, right?
So here's the irony, and I talk about this in my book. When you think about what we can do on the phone today, you wake up tomorrow morning, you have coffee. Within 30 minutes of your children getting on the bus, you can order an outfit, order groceries, pay a parking ticket, order stamps, get toilet paper. I mean, the list goes on and on. You can literally do that. Those errands took my mom the better part of a day's time. She had to run to the bank, to the grocery store. Okay, so here's the irony. We're accomplishing more. Do we feel more accomplished? Do we feel less stressed? No. Do we feel more productive?
To-do list just gets longer.
We check that to-do list as we click. Yet when you think about the mental health crisis that's affecting this country today, we're not getting better. And when you look at how this mental health crisis is affecting our teens, the researchers say, and Jean Twenge is one of my favorites. She wrote the book iGen. It's more scientific.
Okay.
And I should tell your readers, so my book, despite the seriousness of this topic, it reads more like a memoir.
Okay.
One of the testimonials said, if Tina Fey, Dr. Phil, and Oprah had a book baby, this would be it. So I want you to laugh, but more so, I want you to think.
Love it.
But back to the kids, I think we have to address this. Like, I don't want to sound upset, but I'm so sick of turning on the Today Show every morning and hearing screen time, excessive screen time, rise in suicide in teens, so on and so forth, but nobody's doing anything.
Mm-mm.
We
I
gotta
do.
do
I think you
something,
should sound
people.
upset.
Let's do something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we should be upset.
I've got a plan for, like, I have a start. But what I hope your listeners take away from today is that I cannot do this on my own. When you think back to, let me give an example, processed food. That was the norm. I grew up on it. I think I ate macaroni and cheese and Twix, for dessert. Like, that's what I did. Slowly but surely, people like you and Michael Pollan and Lisa Leake, they brought it to our attention. And when we know better, we do better.
Nice.
And now look what happens. You've got companies making using non-processed ingredients, organic. I mean, the world has listened. So if we can all get on the bandwagon, and again, we can talk about, some of the things that you can do. I'm telling you, there can be a movement for change that is going to bring all of us so much peace.
Yes, absolutely. We have to.
We have to.
Yeah, my kids have a half day of school tomorrow. It's the last week of school. And we're going shopping for some summer shoes with the big kids. My 4-year-old's going to be around, and I'm like, I'm taking him with me. I said, he's going to finally get the experience that the big kids used to have to do all the time and go shopping with mommy and be bored. Just because it just hasn't quite been his life. And I said, and I'm not taking a tablet, and I'm not giving him my phone like all the other parents in the stores. He's just going to be bored, or maybe we'll take a puzzle.
That's right. That's right. Or he can look around. He can people watch. He can talk to his siblings.
Yep, and he'll talk to everybody, actually, which is awesome.
That is awesome. What was I going to say? Oh, so I got off topic. I wanted to go back to Jean Twenge.
Yeah,
so
tell me.
She's a lead researcher in kind of technology and kids, and she's really upfront in saying that causality is really tough to prove. When you look at anxiety, depression, and suicide in teens, they're convinced, she and the other researchers out there, they are convinced that the rise in cell phone 100% correlates to the rise in anxiety, depression, and suicide. And when you think about it, it is a paradox. When people are depressed, they seek isolation. However, when teens spend a lot of time on social media, which, let's face it, there's nothing social about it.
No, which is, go into that a little bit, though, because I think many people still do think it's a good way to connect with other people, but I don't think it plays out this way. What does it actually play out with? Like,
I don't want to offend anyone, but here's what I'll say. I can see when you have extended family across the country and friends, if you want to call that connecting, I'll agree with that. Yeah, it is fun to see my best friend from college's children grow up. I wouldn't get to otherwise. But so that aside, I do think that we make that statement as an excuse for how much we're on it. I think social media can be great. It's one of my favorite chapters in the book that I wrote. It's called When a Tree Falls in the Wood.
Ooh.
And I asked the question, so if a tree falls in the woods, does it make a sound? Regardless of your answer, my answer is, oh yes. A 2-ton object cannot slam into the ground and not make a sound. But then I posed the question, but if you do something good and nobody likes it on social media, does it still count? And I brought it up, and I hate to reiterate this for those that may have read the book, but I have a neighbor who has this to die for dynamic, gregarious redhead daughter. She plays the guitar. She hikes. Like, she's just awesome. She's a great kid. And she kind of had some struggles moving into high school, groups, all of us do. Kids go different ways, get into different things. But her biggest struggle was social media. So there are these other kids that post the picture of like the burrito they had for dinner at Chipotle, and it's like 583 likes. The beautiful blonde, the dancer, the cheerleader, your prototypical like person. And then here my friend's daughter is hiking the Appalachian Trail, and it gets like 14 likes. And she's like, I don't know how to explain that. And I said, well, the bigger problem is, why should that matter? When you think about what adolescents and kids are going through, stumbling through middle school and into high school, and all that they are impacted by.
Yeah.
When you add on social media and worse, the fact that many of them are seeking validation on
Yeah.
social media, the hair on all of our arms should stand up.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy fix, because it's about talking, having a dialogue at all time with your kids, that they were worthy from the beginning.
Yes.
They were put here with a purpose, for a purpose, on purpose. And that's a conversation obviously we have with our kids from the day they're born, But I think we need to manage, and maybe it's by example, how they seek validation on social media. We need to know what they're putting out there. We need to know how they're judging it. We need to know how it makes them feel, because not every child is created equal. There are some children that just are confident in who they are and what they're doing and where they're going. And that child is probably less susceptible to some of the negative feelings from social media. So part of being a parent, I think part of the toughest part is being objective about our kids, right? Like, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? I have 3, and I can tell you there's one for sure that just can't quite get comfortable in her own skin. I see her changing around one group of friends to the other, kind of doing the little chameleon thing. She's the one. Now, they don't have social media yet, but she would be the one who I would carefully monitor how we're using that, because they have to know their worth, and it cannot come from a stranger or a friend on social media, because they're going to end up validated by all the wrong things, by all the wrong people. And that breaks my heart.
Yep. And it's totally up to us as parents. I mean, I think a lot of parents are trying to figure out this balance of, well, how much do I restrict versus how much do I teach? And it's both. It's always a both and of teaching the right way to do it yourself and setting firm limits, particularly because like there's physiology that we're fighting here when we say get off social media, right? It's every time you see that you're getting a hit of dopamine in your brain.
Yes.
And I just heard, go ahead.
I was going to say yes. And you know what? The brain does not discriminate. The addiction centers in our brain do not discriminate, whether it is sex, drugs, porn, alcohol, or the smartphone or social media. The brain can't discriminate. It's addiction. It's addiction. And you cannot pretend like it's not. It is addiction.
Yep. And thank you for bringing up that list, because I don't think any parent out there would say, well, alcohol and sex are just a part of American culture. And there's really, I just want my kids to learn to use them appropriately. And there's nothing I can do, even though they're 12. No, actually, until they're 21, you set freaking limits. And that's what we have to do with smartphones.
Because you're the boss.
Yes.
And I think we have to remind ourselves that, like, we are totally the boss. We wouldn't let him do it with sex, drugs, or alcohol. We can't let him do it with the phone. And you know what? It doesn't have to be. So with my kids, obviously I wrote the book, and now not so much my girls. I have twin girls. But my son, who's 13, it's like, oh, I know you wrote the book. I got to hang up. And I'm like, we've kind of moved away from that. Instead of making, so there are limits in my house, period, end of story. There are limits. But I try not to make it painful. You know what I mean? Like, I almost make it like, hey, do me a favor. If you're going to hang up there, will you just set a timer on Alexa? And then when you're done, zip in the backyard and get Rhino and see if he wants to go swimming. Or, hey, set an hour timer on there. And then I saw a bunch of boys in the Lewis's backyard, run on down there. And
right.
And so it's not like, no, can't. It's like, yes. And then, and then what, it's almost like when you would distract a toddler, like instead of spanking them or, redirect. That's the word.
Yes.
You would pick up and redirect. Let's not play with the knives. Here's some plastic blocks. So you say, absolutely. Like, I'm sure you're exhausted. You've been on the ball field all day. Go up there, get a Gatorade, chill out. But set a timer for an hour and then run on down to the Lewis's and find something else to do. So I try not to say no a lot. I just say no with social media. He's okay with that for the time being. But for the rest of it, I kind of make it just a way of life. Like, did you brush your teeth? Let's get in the habit of brushing our teeth when we get up to bed. They don't complain about that anymore. They just do it. So I think it's all in how you manage it too. If it's negative and no, and you're better off saying yes and then go jump on
Right.
the trampoline. Yes,
Teaching
and
proper.
then you need to, read 3 chapters of your summer reading list.
Yeah.
Yes, and then I think yes, and then I'm just making that up now. I love it. Yes, and then yes, you can get on your phone and then go find something fun to do.
Awesome. And I know a lot of people are doing, do these things and then. I've seen a lot of summer
Yeah,
checklists on social media. Whoops.
yeah,
Which is helpful sometimes, right? But I've
yeah,
seen a lot of checklists. You need to read, you need to be outside, you need to do
yeah.
your chore, you need to make your bed, and then you can have your half hour of screen time or whatever. And that's, probably a little more appropriate for the younger kids, right? But you brought up an interesting point. You said that you say to your son, go chill for a while with your screen. Do you think that any part of anything that you can do on a screen is a good way to chill and reduce stress?
Do you know? That's a really great question. I think it depends on what you're doing.
Okay.
I think if you're scrolling social media, you almost kind of go into a trance and you get those negative feelings. You get the isolation. I mean, Dr. Oh gosh, I never can say his name. I'll have to look it up for you. I reference him in my book,
Yep.
but he talks about the chemical imbalance that kids experience when they sit and it's the passive scrolling that's so bad. There's literally a chemical imbalance in the brain that induces anxiety, depression, and of course, suicide. Um, so I think it's a good question. I think it depends on what they're doing. For my son, it's the video gaming, which I have 3 younger brothers who grew up playing Super Mario Brothers.
Yep.
They're all good. I kind of prefer that. Again, he doesn't have social media, so we don't have that yet.
Mm-hmm.
He likes to watch like ridiculous basketball dunks, like best dunks of all time, or and I
Mm-hmm.
guess some of that is probably okay, but you got to manage it, and you got to wonder what ads are scrolling alongside that awesome dunk. You know what I
Right.
mean? There's so much out there.
And that comes back to that point about education. We have a 14-year-old son and we're having discussions about consumption versus creation. Are you just consuming to turn your brain off? And that's fine sometimes. But how are you balancing that with creation, either writing, notes to friends or, creating actual work or editing a video, shooting something with your little green screen that you have up in your room that you never play with, versus the consumption, which is like, it's good and bad, right? So there's a lot of research that says humor is excellent and stress reducing. So if you can watch a funny video and get a good belly laugh, that's actually great. Once you've watched the 57th one in a row, now you're probably showing signs of screen addiction. So I think like building a mindfulness, like I talk a lot about mindfulness around food, there's a mindfulness around screens where, like, for me, I can guarantee that social media is not stress reducing. We think it is. I think a lot of us go end of day like, oh, I get to check my feed now. And then, 15, 20, 30 minutes later, your brain doesn't feel more calm. In fact, I feel a little more twitchy and a little more like I need something else.
Okay,
that's not good.
Talked about mindfulness because this is like the building block. First of all, I love yoga. I tell my kids when they retire, I'm going to become a total yogi, burn incense and write books. But anyway, in the meantime, I love my yoga. I love what in 8 years' time, it has totally changed my life. It's changed the way I function, the way I rebound from stressful situations. I love it. I feel like all you hear about is mindfulness. I feel like that is the hottest buzzword of like the last 3 years is mindfulness, being mindful, meditation, etc. So can I say BS? I call BS on mindfulness because you know what? When 75% of people say their phone is never 5 feet from their body and they jump every time the phone pings, and I'm being dramatic here, you don't jump, but you know what? If your phone pings and you look, if your phone pings and you look, if your phone pings and you look, you are not being mindful. No. And this is I wrote an article that I hope your readers will go on to my website and read. It's called, which one? There was 2. Well, there's 2 kind of same topic, but I love it. So one is please versus now.
Okay.
So I told this funny story about my baby brother, Charlie, who, I would always say to my kids, can we have more milk? What do you say? Please. Can I have another sandwich? What do you say? Please. So my mom would tease me, my younger brother, and she'd be like, Charlie would say, Mom, can I have more pizza? She'd go, what do you say? And he goes, now. Anyway, we would laugh, ha ha ha. So
Sure.
again, my mother has a weird sense of humor. She's kind of a nut. But the point is that if you have a phone and you are texting people action required or time sensitive messages, you may be implying, please, hey, Katie, I'm at the grocery store. Can you shoot me your recipe for banana bread? I'm implying, please, I loved your banana bread. You know what I'm saying? Now,
Now.
right darn now, stop what you're doing and answer me now because I'm at the grocery store. Did you get my text?
Right.
I know you did. You know why? Because 75% of people have their phone on or near their body all the time. The culture we're creating, we are nowers. We're all saying now. None of us are saying please anymore, and it's perpetuating this horrible dynamic across our society. I was trying to think. The other article I wrote that I just laughed writing it. Please versus now. What was the other one? Oh gosh, I can't. It was around though when the phone pings and you jump, and about how that is the most incredibly disruptive and destructive way to live.
So,
and so for a society that craves mindfulness and chases it with such prowess, if you have a phone and you look when it pings, you are not being mindful. And here's the part that kills me: we do it regardless of what we are doing. We do it regardless of who we are with. And we do it regardless of the matter's urgency, right? No one's dying most of the time. But it's, hey, can I get the report in an hour? Are you picking up the kids or am I? Hey, I'm running late. Can you grab Tony?
Yep.
Action required and time-sensitive messages. If this could be my summary, this would be my summary, which is all of these things we talked about: the use and abuse of phone, excessive screen time, social media, and the negative effects of it. There are people out there like me and you that want to do better. I know you have people out there listening to us right now going, yes, I'm going to do better too. I want to do better. The problem is, I think root cause, and I know you like root cause, the root cause of this epidemic is that it is absolutely 100% the norm in this country to send action required and time sensitive text, because the expectation is that me and you and all of your viewers have your phone on or near your body most hours of the day and will respond immediately or near immediately. Until we address this communication crisis, I call it, none of us are going to be able to put the phone down or turn it off. You did on Mother's Day when you turned it on. Like, I'm sure there were action required or time sensitive messages that were on there that you found yourself responding back to. And yeah, none of them are life sensitive, so your boss doesn't get the report, so you don't get to pick up Tony from school. The point is that there are times when a phone call is more appropriate than a text.
Sure.
There are times when a text is more appropriate than a phone call. There are times when an email is more appropriate than both of them. Group text messages, the other thing that I would love for your readers to start doing, I'm trying to coin the term, and I don't know what you call it, the phone terms, NRN. No response needed. Because when you send out a group text that is for the sole purpose of relaying information, game is moving to field 2. And then, so that's one thing, right? We get
Please don't say yes, thank you, I got it.
But then it's thumbs up, smiley face, thumbs up. And so what's happening? Ping, 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 ping. Yep. And what are those people?
You're reducing other people's lives one ping at a time.
And guess what? Most of those people are driving behind the wheel of a car because they're on their way to field 3. And so now they're pinging. So that's a whole nother topic, but I'll just tell you right now, people are dying, distracted driving, looking at their phones. And it's because of a couple of things: the addiction we have to our phone, but more importantly, this business of sending action required time sensitive text and the intrinsic obligation we feel to respond immediately or almost immediately that has literally been coded into us in the last few years.
Yeah, it's frightening.
Yes, but the no response needed. If you're sending out a message and you put NRN, that means don't thumb up emoji me. Do not. It saves you like 10 pings.
Yeah. Do not reply all. Yeah, that would be great.
I'm like folding laundry and I can hear my phone like ping, ping. I'm like, the sky is falling. And no, it was a group text that said, "Game, we're wearing blue tomorrow instead of white." Okay, great.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, put your phone on vibrate or off too.
But again, none of us are going to be able to do that with peace of mind until, as a society, we get away from sending action required and time sensitive messages. Can I give one more example?
Sure, go for it.
So for a week, we got out of school last week. And so for a week, my son was like, can I invite kids over to swim and play cornhole? And I'm like, oh, yes, I would love that. We'll do burgers and hot dogs. So like a couple of days later, I'm like, so how many people are coming? Oh, I don't know. Well, what do you mean you don't know? And I'd even written up a text that said, like, this is Eli's mom, Haley. Eli wants to have kids over. Here's my address, my phone number. Because some of the kids, from the pod, I thought the parents might want to call me. They don't know me.
Sure.
So I said, you just forward this to your group. It's it was the morning before the last day of school. And I'm like, so how many people are coming? He said, I don't know, Mom. I didn't send the text. I go, you what?
Oh, no.
When are you going to send the text? He gets home from school. I'm like, send the text. So he finally sends it. And I said, now, do you understand why I'm so upset? Because he says, I don't get it. I'm going to text them and then they're going to say yes or no. And I said, you're not thinking through it. I have a 4-hour meeting tomorrow with my boss, a closed meeting, like my year or my mid-year review. I'm going to get up in the morning. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to fly home, shower, blow dry my hair, and run into this meeting. And then I'm stepping out and flying home to get home in time for you and all your friends to get there.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm going to have 18 moms texting me. Are you sure it's okay? You're so sweet. What can I bring? What was your address again? Now, I said, Eli, I'm not going to be able to respond to them. I'm going to be in a meeting. If you would have sent this a week ago, all of those action required texts that I was going to get from those parents, I would have had a couple of days to respond to them.
Sure.
And not that I would have waited that long, but it wouldn't have been time sensitive. So we have to plan better. You can literally ask yourself, okay, this is time sensitive. I'm running late. I need you, Katie, to grab Eli from the carpool line. I know you're in the car driving with probably your 4-year-old in the back seat. And I know you're at the school. It's time sensitive. That's not a text. That's a phone call because you can answer your phone hands-free for the most part. And maybe not everybody has that option, but most of us do, safely, so as not to put you or your 4-year-old child or the people around you in danger by texting and driving. And I get you immediately. Because what happens if I do text you? And what if you're a good, responsible driver that doesn't look at it and respond back?
Sure.
Well, now I'm sitting on pins and needles at work going, oh no, is she getting him? I don't know if she's getting him. Is he left? A phone call? Hey, Katie, I'm glad I caught you. Oh, you're at the school? I figured. Is there any way you could grab Eli for me? And look, you're not stressed. You're not being distracted. You're putting yourself in danger. I'm not anxious, worried about Eli. It was just a simple phone call. We have got to change the way we communicate. Please, let's talk about this. If we could talk about this, the rest would come. The people would be more willing to put their phone down. They'd be more willing to set limits for themselves and their kids. I think part of why they don't is this fear of, I'm going to turn my phone off and come back to a frenzied activity.
Yeah, for sure. So to distill this down into we love action steps and baby steps at Kitchen Stewardship, I think it would be fair to say we need to teach our children good habits through both education, mindfulness, and limits.
Yes.
We need to untrain the bad habits in ourselves to feel like we always have to respond, and then stop sending those time-sensitive, action-needed texts, emails, etc. And what was the last one? Oh, and the no response needed. Just allowing that to be part of our culture.
So in the book, and I think y'all have a picture. This is it, hung up. It's available on my website or Amazon. So in my life personally, whether I've run a marathon, which I did, or supporting an organization, when there's a strong why behind whatever it is I'm doing, I'm so much more successful. If my heart is in it and I know that it's something that needs to be done, I'll do it even if it's hard or inconvenient. So my book, I hope, is the why. I hope it, like I said, I hope it makes you laugh, but I hope it makes you think, and I hope it makes you want to do better. At the back of the book, I have the Big Hang Up 7-Day Challenge. In a dream world, we would all take it. We all would all take it, because what it does is it it's the people that have taken it, and the feedback I've gotten is they're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. I literally had no idea just how intrusive and destructive
Mm,
and disruptive this phone was to my everyday life. I
wow.
couldn't even help my child do homework, interrupted 3 different times. And it never even occurred to me how rude that was to my child
Mm,
and how disruptive to our family life. But there are baby steps you can do. And let me say this,
great.
just like cutting out processed food, it doesn't have to be all or nothing, right? Like
Right.
even small steps matter. It
Hmm.
doesn't have to be all or nothing, but I really hope after people read the book, they're going to take the big hang up 7-day challenge, because it's going to help them put into place some lifestyle habits that are, I swear, they're easy to maintain, but it's all about being your boss. So,
Awesome. Awesome. And I'll make sure I link to your site too, because I noticed the 7-day challenge
yeah,
is a little bit on your site as well.
yes,
So
it is.
yes, thank you so much, Haley Evans, author of Hung Up, giving us the why we should hang up, why we should control our phones and not let them control us, and a little bit of the how and some really, really good practical strategies. Thanks so much for being here today, Haley.
Thank you for having me.